Hi humans, and welcome to the first episode of Crimax. My name is Bridget. I will be telling you the story of Maura Murray today, and I'm joined by...
The co-host, Cortland Turco.
And what is the name of the podcast that we decided to make?
The name of the podcast is Crimax, which is a combination of crime and climax. For whatever reason, we will let you decide that.
Well, every story builds up to a climaxing ending, and it just sounds really fun.
Sure, we can go with that. Either way, a lot of our content or some of our content may not be suitable for young ones. So, listener discretion is advised?
Yes, listener discretion is advised. These stories are for educational purposes so that you can learn the story of these victims, possibly protect yourself from future crimes, and we can talk about possibly what went wrong in these situations.
And for all intensive purposes of it being learning, I've decided that I'm going to try and do something new at the beginning of each podcast. So in addition to our fun little horror stories that we'll be reading, I'm going to start each podcast with a random fun fact. I've personally chosen to do different fun facts about different animals, reptiles, amphibians, and all stuff like that.
Interesting.
It is. Yeah, it is. So for our very first fun fact, I had to dig deep and, re-go over some things that I had to know to make sure that it was still accurate as of today. But I've chosen to do a fun fact on our fellow platypus, the
platypus.
the abomination of nature.
They're so cute.
They are.
They're like pancakes.
They are, but they can be very vicious. Not only that, but the males in particular have a sharp little spur on the back of their foot that is actually venomous. Platypuses are one of the 3 mammals in this world that can actually produce venom.
What?
Females also have the spur when they're young, but as they mature, it falls off. So generally only the males have it. And they've been known to be able to kill dogs and such, but as of right now, there haven't been any human fatalities from the venom.
I don't understand. They have one? Don't they have 2 back feet?
Well, yes, it's on each foot.
Oh, okay.
It's
so
on each
2.
foot.
They have 2.
Yeah, they have 2, but there's one on each foot. Mostly it's used, I guess, in mating because predominantly that's when the venom is kind of at its strongest, is during the spring and stuff like that. So they use it for mating. 2 males will fight, and usually from what I've read and researched, it's kind of like a neurotype toxin. It kind of paralyzes and such. But as of right now, there have been no human fatalities. But from what I've heard and have seen, it will still be a very excruciating pain.
So what you're telling me is that I cannot cuddle a baby platypus.
Not unless he's into it.
Well, I gotta consider the platypus first.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that fun fact I never would have heard of in real life.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to get into our case today? Do you know anything about the case of Maura Murray?
No. I know a quick synopsis, but for the most part, for your guys' entertainment, and I guess for mine, a lot of my stuff is going to be a blind react. So.
Well, that's good. You can give me what you think's happening, going on in the situation. And this one has a lot of twists and turns and really weird behavior.
Okay.
There's been tons of different podcast series, tons of different documentaries everywhere about this case. And it's one of those that I'm like, if I die, I better know what happened to Maura Murray. So you ready to get into it?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Maura Murray was born on May 4th, 1982 in Hanson, Massachusetts, and this is a disappearance case, so we don't actually know what happens at the end. There's some strange things at the end I want to ask your opinion on, since you know a little bit more about vehicles and stuff than I do. But she disappeared at age 21 in 2004. So Maura Murray was currently attending the University of Massachusetts at that time. She was studying nursing. She was balancing school, 2 part-time jobs. She had a boyfriend. She was on athletic teams. And she had a lot going on. So she was athlete, college student, working 2 times, sometimes working at the hospital, doing clinicals and stuff. Mm-hmm. So while she was attending the University of Massachusetts is when all this went down. But previously, it is important to note that she was attending West Point and she was studying chemical engineering, but she decided to leave there after she got caught for shoplifting from Fort Knox.
So West Point, so that's military. So she's a military brat. And, before I decided to get into my IT network security job, I was actually going to Penn State for chemical engineering until I realized it was more so engineering and less chemical stuff. So she's a smarty pants.
Well, maybe she decided that wasn't for her, too. Apparently, it's pretty tough.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. To get into that school, it's a very prestigious military school, and they don't just take anybody. So the fact that she got in when she was that young, and especially for something like that, I would assume that she's pretty smart.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then to study that, and then go to University of Massachusetts is a pretty big deal, and to do that, balance jobs, everything, it's a lot. But she did get caught shoplifting. She also had a fraud charge where she was just given 3 months probation for using stolen credit card number to order like pizza and food at a bunch of different restaurants and stuff. So she decided to go ahead and leave West Point then and go to the University of Massachusetts. So that's the only ever problem she's ever had in her life. She's been pretty straight up until that point, just one small kink in the thing, and she changed schools. So we're going to go ahead to the month of the disappearance now, which is February of 2004. Now, back in the first weekend of February 2004, her dad came up and helped her go car shopping because her car was really rough. It was kicking it. It was going to hit it any day then. And he wanted to go help her go car shopping. They went that weekend. They didn't actually buy anything that day, but they went shopping together. They had dinner with her and her friend Kate, and everything went smoothly. Now, after they went car shopping and had dinner with her friend, Maura dropped her dad back off at his hotel and took his car to a party that night. Her car was so bad, he said, "Drop me off at the hotel. I'm going to go back there. You can have the car for the night, and you can go to this party with your friend." Now, everything went well with this party. However, at the end of the night, when she was heading back to return the car to her dad at the hotel, she got in a one-car accident. She ran into a guardrail.
21 partying.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. We don't have any proof of a DUI or anything. There was no arrest, but she did hit a guardrail, and she caused about $8,000 worth of damage to her dad's brand new car. So she was pretty shaken up about that. She called her boyfriend about 4 a.m. That morning just to vent about it, but that's all that really happened. But she did get in a wreck with her dad's new car. Now the next morning, her dad takes her back to her place, which is on the UMass campus, and she was still shaken up about the accident the day before, but everything was settled. He dropped her off, called her a couple hours later to make sure that she filed the insurance papers that she needed to for the claim, and she said that would be fine. Now, this is the beginning of the semester for her, mid-February, so classes are just now getting started, so you think she would take care of these insurance papers and everything would be settled, but this is where things get even worse for Maura. Now, the last time Maura's dad saw her is when he dropped her off at campus and then talked to her about the insurance paper a couple hours later. After that, we don't know much about what she did that day, except that it showed on her computer logs, which was after she disappeared, that she was browsing rentals in the New Hampshire area until 4 a.m. the early morning hours. So she'd been browsing the internet looking for rentals. She hadn't actually booked anything, but she was looking for rentals in New Hampshire. Now, this New Hampshire area, she also looked at Vermont, kind of just the northern area up there, but she was familiar with that area just because her and her dad went hiking up there a lot as they were growing up. It was something they did every weekend. They went hiking up there since it's not really that far from Massachusetts. However, she made no actual plans. She booked no things. She did call a couple places to see if they had places available, but they needed more time. She wanted to go the next day to these places, so she didn't get a booking. Nothing happened. That's what she was looking at that day when she got home.
So when her and her dad went car shopping, they didn't actually get a car.
No, they didn't get it that day. They were going to get it the next weekend, lock down a deal.
Okay.
But she was still driving that little hunk of whatever. Had all the problems. They did not want her driving it.
We all know that car.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? Right now, I would take that over a car payment.
Shit.
So that night, all we have to go on what she did and that Sunday till Monday morning on February 9th was that she was browsing rentals in Vermont, New Hampshire area, and that she had called her boyfriend Billy. He had called her, she had emailed him back saying she didn't want to talk right then, but then she called him, missed the call, and basically just said that she'll call him back later and that she loves him. So that's all we really know that she did. that night. Now, she did actually email her professors, even though, again, this is the beginning of the semester, school had just started. She emailed her professors claiming there was a death in the family and she was going to be going away for about a week. But there was no death in the family. None of her family knows where she got this from, but maybe she just wanted to take a break. You know, she had just gotten in the wreck. She had just switched schools. Maybe she was just going through stress. She wanted to get away, but she hadn't actually booked anything. So no one knows if she was actually going to go there and why she needed a whole week off. Now, another thing is that when she did end up leaving and they found things in her car, of course they went through her car, they found her school books. So it's not like she was avoiding going to school and taking classes and studying. She took her books with her.
Now, do we know anything personally about her herself? Because from what it sounds like, I mean, she's a young, seemingly well off girl. But just to, go to a party, get into a wreck, and then start doing this weird, somewhat suspicious behavior. A lot of it to me sounds like, I mean, it feels like she's going through something, whether it's she might be just depressed or something like that, or feels that she needs to get away. Just feels like something is going on with her internally. So, I mean, do we know anything about, like, her character personally?
Apparently she was a really friendly, easygoing person. She was an athlete, so she was very driven, is what her family says. But there was something that happened a couple days prior, if you want to hear it, that made her seem like her mental state wasn't completely there.
Yeah.
So she disappeared on February 9th. That's what we've been talking about when she looked at these rentals and stuff, is February 8th and 9th. But on February 5th, she was working one of her jobs at a hospital, and she was checking people in, checking their badges for a few hours. But her boss came up and found her in a catatonic state, just not there mentally, blank in the face, not checking people's IDs as they come in the door, doing anything. She was just out of it. And the only thing she could say to her boss is, "My sister," and she broke down crying the moment she said it. Now, she had spoken to her sister, but it was a perfectly normal conversation, but she was in this weird catatonic state out of nowhere at work, and that's what her boss found her. Now, her boss did walk her back to the classroom, asked if she had anybody to talk to, and she said that she could talk to her roommate about the situation that was going on with her sister. However, Maura didn't have a roommate to talk to, so we know that was a lie, and we also don't think there was anything going on with her sister that would have made her that upset. So something with her mental state was off. Definitely going under a lot of stress with the new school and probation.
That's what I'm getting at. It's just, I mean, as I've stated, clearly before, I mean, this is a girl who can get into West Point, which is a very prestigious military school. Well, it's known for military, for their projects and the government and stuff like that. So it's very prestigious. It takes a lot of demanding work and everything, among juggling multiple jobs and just all this going on. As of right now, it hits me as she just had a complete major stress breakdown, and it just broke her out of nowhere. But we'll see as we keep going here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess after all that stress, I know personally I'd be a mess and want to get away too, but I definitely wouldn't go anywhere without having like a place to stay.
Yeah, well, a lot of times when it's that bad and it just keeps compounding on itself, you're not really thinking. At that point, you're just reacting, and it's just like you check out, and it's just your brain takes over, and you're not really thinking ahead. You just start reacting.
Yeah, that's true. But I also have something that's always struck me as weird. The one she says she's like in that state and she breaks down saying "my sister." I feel like if I was that distraught, not really there mentally, I wouldn't have like something I could think of on the spot to blame it on.
Yeah, well, even with stuff like that, unless we knew, exactly what they were talking about, I mean, when it comes to that point, if you're already at that point, it could be literally almost anything that could just be the final, crack to just completely destroy everything. So, without knowing exactly what they talked about,
apparently they didn't talk about much.
Yeah, we don't really know exactly what happened, or even if it really just came down to just stress and unfortunate events.
I mean, when you get in a wreck, it is pretty traumatic, for sure. Now, but after that, February thing, let's get back to the day she disappeared, when she would look at the rentals and she called her boyfriend basically just to say that she loved him and she'll call him back later.
The day of the disappearance or the day before? The 8th or the 9th?
The night. Okay. So we're at the day of now. Okay. So that night she was looking at rentals. That next morning she called him, but Now we're at the day where the only movements we know from her is that she went to her friend's house to return some of her clothes, and then Maura is seen on ATM surveillance dropping $280 out of her bank account. That's basically all the money she had in the world. She took $280 out of the ATM, and then she goes to the liquor store. Now there is a huge supply of like 7 or 8 things, huge amounts of liquor that she bought from the liquor store. Mostly like wine coolers and stuff, things that, you know, college people would usually drink, I think.
20-year-old woman.
But it's definitely more than one person could possibly consume, like Kahlua and stuff, you know, just kind of college drinks.
Good stuff.
It's good, right? But
man, you should. Man, younger, I used to hate eggnog, and then as I got older, I got this is okay. I remember one day I decided to mix some Kahlua with some eggnog. That was delicious.
It sounds creamy.
Oh, it was so creamy and so delicious.
You like eggnog? It's so.
As a kid, I hated it. I couldn't stand eggnog, but I mean, your taste buds change every couple years, so.
I guess I don't like cinnamon though, so maybe that's why I don't like it. Is there cinnamon in eggnog?
Yeah, some eggnogs yes, other eggnogs no. You add it in yourself, but I'm telling you, it was the bomb.
Yeah, you can keep that to yourself, but.
I will. You ain't taking my eggnog.
I don't want
Drink.
it. I don't want it.
My hard nog.
Your hard nog? Isn't eggnog alcoholic in like traditionally?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay, anyways, after she goes to the liquor store buying way more liquor than one person could possibly consume, even on the best of days, all we know is that she had that last stop at the liquor store, and the only last thing we know from her is that she had checked her phone voicemail at around 4:37 p.m. That's the last activity from her phone, and we don't really know what route she took after that. She started heading north, is all we know, just to go to the Vermont area, but that's all we know. Now, she took a strange route because she was off the main road you would traditionally take. She had printed out like MapQuest things. We don't know specifically what address it was for, but she was off the main road. She was in a small town called Woodsville, New Hampshire, when she was driving on icy roads in New Hampshire, as one does, and then slipped and spiraled, and her car wrecked into a snowbank.
I would really love to actually try and get inside of her head, because as we were talking about before with stress and everything, that at that point you're not really reacting, you just feel the need to get away, and your mind kind of takes over, you know, without you realizing what you're doing. But the fact that she seems to have a destination in mind, you know, actually taking the time to do research and map questing stuff.
But without a booking, though.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense, really. I mean, obviously she's got to be under some stress and everything, but it's just I don't know where she's going or what she's thinking.
I mean, she's obviously getting away from school, but she brought her books with her. So she was still focused on school, but she didn't make it her main priority, obviously, if she's leaving the new semester, leaving classes for a week.
Well, that could also be with stress as well, because when you're under stress, I mean, yeah, your mind kind of takes over, but there are certain things that if it's just a muscle memory type thing, you'll still kind of do them for no reason. So, I mean, the fact that she, you know, would probably have her books with her all the time, going from classes or going to study or whatever, it might have just been a muscle memory thing to where, I mean, she just did it without even realizing it.
I never thought about it like that. I always thought that she planned on coming back. So, like, she was going to get away for a little bit and came back. That's why she brought her books with her. I never thought about it like that. That's a good point, though, honestly. So anyway, Maura crashed her car. It actually flipped her on the wrong facing direction, so it caused a lot of damage to her car. Her car was already, you know, not in the best of shape, so it really did mess it up. There was a huge crack in the windshield, everything like that. Now, Maura was seen by 3 residents in this small town at that time. At 7:27 p.m., this is about 3 hours after Maura last used her phone, the last thing we know about what she did. So 7:27, one person from their house saw her on the side road and called 911. Now, one neighbor, a bus driver on his way home from work, actually stopped to see Maura on the side road, asked if she needed help. Now, she said she had already called AAA, but the bus driver knew that was a lie because there's no cell phone service anywhere in that town. He lived within like a site, he could still see her from his house. He went inside and called 911 as well. So she said she called AAA, but there was clearly no one coming to help her because she didn't have any cell service.
No, yeah, it's I have no clue what she's thinking or what's going on.
I mean,
right
you can't be stranded forever in the middle of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he seemed creepy. That's the only thing I could possibly think of. But interviews, he seems like a normal dude.
Oh, no, yeah, I got nothing against him so far as, you know, according to what we know.
Yeah, but I guess also one thing that did come up that like maybe why she didn't want someone to call help is they would call the police, and she had made that trip to the liquor store, and then after she disappeared, there was a whole bunch of pink stuff in the snow. They never identified what the pink stuff was, but it was also splattered on the roof of her car. So a lot of the assumption is maybe she was drinking and driving. That's what made her slip off the road, but we don't know for sure.
Well, also, now that I actually think about it, is I mean, she's obviously the whole point of this is to get away. So if she ends up having to call help or anything like that, they're gonna obviously find probably end up calling her dad or parents or whoever. So I mean, the whole point is she wants to get away. She doesn't want anyone to know where she is or anything like that. So she's not gonna want to make a call or anything like that.
Right, but
Airbags.
the airbags deployed in the car, so she couldn't, repair the car and get away.
Yeah, but I think to her that the more so concern is she just doesn't want anyone to know what's going on or where she is or anything like that. She just wants to get away.
Yeah, but how are you gonna get away? Like there's nowhere. You're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
They don't even have cell phone service. Where are you gonna go? But the guy who offered help did go back to his house, which he could still see her from the road, and he called 911 to help her at 7:43. Now the original 911 call was at 7:27, so at 7:46, 3 minutes after he made that phone call, a patrolman was on scene, followed by other paramedics and first responders. But 3 minutes after he made that phone call, he could still see her from the road. She wasn't there anymore. There was no tracks in the snow leading out to the woods that anyone could see to see where she went. They followed, they drove up the roadways to see if she was there, but they couldn't find her. So we don't actually know what happened to her. But there was a few things that were kind of strange about the car. So besides the pink stuff splattered in the snow, which personally I believe to be alcohol because she
I
had
believe
so
it was
much.
the wine coolers.
Yeah, she had so much in the car. She was probably stressed and drinking and driving, which may have been why she got in the first wreck in the first place. We don't know. But okay, here's the one thing I wanted to ask you about personally because I don't know why. There was a rag halfway tucked into her tailpipe. What would that have done? There's a rumor that her dad told her to do that for some reason, but you don't need to have it in your tailpipe all the time. So we don't know if she did that after the fact that she wrecked or it was in there when she wrecked.
That'll cause basically the engine to eventually blow. So what it is and the same thing a lot of people used to stick potatoes in tailpipes and such. So the way an engine works is based off of combustion. You have a mixture of fuel and gas to go into the piston. It ignites, and that's what causes the engine to basically run. Well, once it ignites, it makes a bunch of gas, and the engine pushes the gas out through the exhaust. So if you block it, or you prevent the exhaust from coming out, it's going to cause a lot of back pressure. And eventually it'll blow the engine. Basically, basically if somebody put it there with the intention of it staying there.
Well, we think Maura did it because they were there 3 minutes after she was last seen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if it was there before, so basically, it was going to destroy the car. It would have destroyed the car eventually.
But you don't think it had anything to do with she stuffed it in afterwards or anything, after she got in the wreck?
Oh, no, I have no idea why she would do that afterwards.
I mean, people like me who don't know anything about cars, if someone tells me that's a good idea, I might listen.
That's not necessarily a red flag, or that's not one of those symbols, hey, I need help or anything. I mean, obviously the car flipped over would tell you that.
Well, it didn't flip over. It was just on the opposite side of the road.
Oh. Well, in that case, you would just want to put out flares or hang something. A lot of people, when they stop on the side of the road, they'll hang a white bag or a white T-shirt to let them know, hey, the car's not stolen, it's just broken down.
Well, usually you see a T-shirt or a rag or something stuck in the driver's side window.
Exactly. And
just so they don't tow the car.
Yeah, exactly. That lets them know, hey, this car isn't stolen or anything like that. It's broke down. We're going to come back for it. But a rag in the tailpipe, I mean...
That's just always struck me as weird, why?
No, there's not really much point for it.
It's not like it was really stuffed in there. It was, half hanging out. So, I mean, I don't know what was in there. I just thought it was weird.
I mean, it could be to muffle it, I suppose. If you do have
Because it was loud?
Yeah, if it was really, really loud, I mean, you could do that to where you're not really blocking it from exhausting, but it'll muffle it.
Right. That's, one of the things I think her dad maybe had said, that would help. Yeah. But it's not something you want to leave in there all the time, for sure.
No.
So, I don't know. That was really struck me as odd. I kind of wanted to ask you, what would that do? So
make it quieter, I guess.
So other than like the rag in the tailpipe, the pink stuff in the snow, there's also a Coca-Cola bottle that kind of smelled like alcohol to the patrolman on scene. They also in the car found some packed clothing, toiletries, her college textbooks like we mentioned, and her birth control pills. So all kind of stuff you would usually have with you all the time, especially if you're planning on coming back. Like, I'm not going to take medication if I never come back. If I'm going to disappear, I'm not taking that. And I wouldn't take my textbooks either, you know? But that's all that they really found in her car. Now, later on, when her campus room was checked, all of her art was off the walls, which is really weird. It wasn't in her car, but she just removed the art from her walls, which is just weird to me. Like, just taking the pictures down. I mean, if you're planning on coming back, why take your stuff down? And if you're not coming back, pack your stuff with you. Yeah, why bother with it? But that's all they really found on scene. They went up the road, like I said, to look for her. That they didn't find her. They didn't back trail to see if she went the opposite way where she was coming. But
was it snowing?
Yes, like I said, they didn't find any snow.
Do we know how hard it was snowing?
It was a lot of built up snow. She crashed into a snowbank, so there was a lot on the ground.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if it's snowing pretty hard, it could have covered any type of trail or footprints. Usually, even just a light snow, you'd still be able to see footprints and stuff because it would still make an indent and the snow would still build upon that. So, but if it was like a heavy type snow, then I mean, it could cover
in 3 minutes.
Track if it's snowing good enough.
It obviously wasn't that bad though. I mean, it would have been notable if it was horribly storming outside, but there's been no mention of that, so it could have been bad.
Were there any banks or anything like that?
I mean, she crashed into a snowbank. There were banks there, but
yeah, snowbank. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I really think if there were 3 minutes after the last person made the 911 call, you would see tracks in the snow, especially like when you find the abandoned car. Like, where's the person who was driving it? Especially if it's a crime like drinking and driving.
That she got kidnapped.
Well, we don't know. I mean, we never found her. Spoiler alert: she's missing. But anyways, after they didn't find her, they looked for her, they didn't find her.
This was back in what? You said
2004.
And she was 21. Ooh, she could still be alive.
She could still be alive, but where?
Missing milk carton.
I think all the documentaries done on it would be more useful than a milk carton.
I'm saying, put her face on the milk carton. Collect the set.
Whatever. Anyways, the next day, her dad was notified of the car being abandoned, and he knew right away something was wrong and she wouldn't have done that. She's very responsible. Other than like a couple mishaps lately, she's been very responsible. And they went ahead and started doing the search. Her boyfriend Billy was coming all the way from Oklahoma to come search for her, but they really didn't find anything. Now, 11 days after she went missing is when they brought dogs out to track her scent. To me, 11 days is ridiculous.
Yeah, you want to bring dogs out right away.
Yeah, they smelt like 100 feet up the road tracking the scent. But 11 days.
No.
And it was a brand new shirt.
Especially when it's still snowing. No, you need to bring them out right away.
Yeah, and it didn't really have it was like a newer item of hers that didn't have like too much of her smell on it. So to me, that doesn't really do anything. It was 100 feet up the road and they completely stopped and lost everything. So to me, that doesn't really, say anything. But honestly, that's all we really know. I mean, I can tell you a few side things that have little conspiracies, what people think. But what do you think?
I could only think of two possibilities that I could really know of. Is that she had a psychotic break for whatever reason. She wasn't thinking rationally. For whatever cause, we don't know, or at least I don't know. But she had a break nonetheless. She got into that wreck, and she just either started walking one direction or the other, and somehow the snow just ended up covering it, which, I'm sorry, but...
But they tracked her down the road.
Yeah, 11 days later.
No, they tracked her down there. They went to go look for her when they first found the car and they didn't see her.
Yeah. So somehow she ended up walking away, and either the footprints or something ended up, covering up or messing it up. Or just somebody had just drove by and just snatched her.
Yeah. But it's still, honestly, I think someone kidnapped her. But it doesn't explain all of the weirdness beforehand. All the strange behavior. Where was she going? Was she drinking and driving? What's up with that canatonic state? Why'd she take her art off her walls?
Now, you had mentioned that she had MapQuested something.
Yeah, she had to directions to the Vermont, New Hampshire area.
do we know where within that area? Like, does her family have any connections in that area?
Well, we said that she went hiking with her dad, so they kind of knew the area. They kind of went out weekends up there just to they're athletic people.
So she might have just been overly stressed and just wanted to get away and do something that probably was relaxing to her, or something that she knew would kind of help.
Yeah, I mean, an area she's semi-familiar with makes a ton of sense, which is why she was looking up that area. But she didn't ever book anything. And then, why did she say she called AAA? Was she crying my sister to her boss at work? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Stress.
There's a couple clues and conspiracies here and there for this case, which are kind of interesting, but we don't have any proof of these things. Now, there's a claim that one of the witnesses, because 3 people saw her on that road when she wrecked her car, said that there was a man in the passenger seat smoking a cigarette. Now, this claim has been disputed. No one actually thinks it's true, but it is something that was initially thought is what one of them saw.
Well, if the police did their job correctly, I mean, if someone else sitting in the passenger seat, especially smoking anything, I mean, they'd be able to test the car inside and out, especially, with something like that. I mean, there's got to be hair or smoke or just something stuck somewhere. They should have found something, if there was something in, somebody else there.
Yeah, but the guy who came and offered her help didn't see anyone else in the car, and he was the closest one to her. So I don't know. I don't really buy that, personally.
Yeah.
But someone totally could have been with her.
Yeah, because it would have been, I mean, unless the guy, just stayed to the side or even in the car the whole time, then it would have been easy to miss him, especially when the guy's just focused on this girl and whatever.
Yeah, they said she was frazzled,
it's
but,
she unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah, he said she seemed sober, but, I mean, you can act sober as you want, Everyone's tried to act sober once or twice.
And even so, it doesn't explain, because if there's 2 people, then at that point it would be even harder to kind of disappear, because it would just be more tracks or more whatever. So
yeah, and you gotta agree on what the plan is here, especially when you didn't call for help. Now, initially, her dad had made a statement which he regrets so much to this day. He always regrets saying this, that maybe she was depressed and maybe she had done something to herself. Or if she was really depressed and she had ran away, he always made pleas for her to come back. It'll be fine. We can work it out. But that's something he regrets saying. However, I mean, I'm a fragile mental person, so I would think about that probably in that scenario. It's a lot of bad stuff going on. But she had a lot going for her, too. She was doing great in school.
Yeah.
She was a successful athlete. She had a boyfriend, you know.
Well, even if you're doing great, that's still not 100% of a sign. Because most people that undergo, a lot of stress or even psychotic breaks, most of the time, up until that point, they are. I mean, they're triple A students. They got a lot of extracurricular activities. They're doing well at their jobs. All their friends and family would say they're great and everything. So you would never know. It's just up until that breaking point, they have a quote unquote perfect life.
Absolutely, you can never tell.
And then, I mean, it's, then you have a break, or whether that or she just feels like she needed a fresh start, which even then, after a while, you would kind of think that, you would at least make contact with somebody.
Yeah.
But,
especially with all
again, it's still even possible that, hey, if you really feel like you need a fresh start, just to completely cut, everybody out. I mean, it's possible, but, I mean, at some point in time, I would feel like you would at least, contact somebody.
She was 21. She was an adult. If she wanted to run away, she has every right to run away and start a new life. She doesn't have to contact anyone, but she could at least call the police and say, hey, I'm not dead.
After a while, people will feel like, because if there's somebody, say, I don't know the relationship between her and her boyfriend, but if her boyfriend was somebody that she could easily talk to about anything and everything, she felt comfortable. At some point in time, the psyche would have been, she would have at least gotten back in contact with him.
So you would think that they had a good relationship. They said they were engaged to be engaged. However, she knew that Billy had cheated on her, and she had an affair with her track coach. So their relationship wasn't perfect, for sure. And whose is, honestly. But, I mean, apparently they were still working it out. She was calling, hey, I didn't want to talk, but I still love you. Call you back later. So they were still in good contact. They still had good communication, even though they were, doing a long distance thing. So their relationship wasn't perfect, but like I would call you, Hey, I'm not dead. Don't want to be around you, but I'm not dead. Now here is the last little conspiracy sidetrack I have for you, which is like really intriguing, but personally I don't find relevant to the situation, but you can let me know what you think. Now, the night she had that catatonic stay at work and she was like out of it and she was crying my sister and stuff. Now, earlier that night, there was a hit and run pretty close to her job. Now, apparently, yes, she was at work, but who doesn't say she couldn't have got away and done this hit and run, and that caused her to be in this weird state, freaked out, already stressed. She had just wrecked her dad's car. So they never solved that case. The guy who was injured in this hit and run doesn't think it has anything to do with the case, but it was really close by, and she was in that weird state that night. So people think maybe she had caused it, and that caused her mental snap. But then she did disappear for 4 days later, so what do you think? Because that would mentally break you. But she was at work, and we don't know for sure that she even left work at any point.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't. I don't really 100% believe that.
Right. Seems like a stretch.
Yeah.
Just trying to connect things in the same area.
Yeah. Well, that and there would. I mean, it would still be possible. I mean, I would just think about there'd also be more damage to her vehicle that. I mean, it's as possible as it would be that no one just never would have ever really noticed it. She could have gotten away with it, but it's just, I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's always been a running thing, so I figured I'd mention it. But to me, like, she wouldn't cry her sister. She would just cry if she had just done that. And I don't know if I could have went back to work,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I wouldn't put them together personally, but it's been something that's come up.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back with even as stressed or as stressed or any type of emotional state that you are, if you do things so much, like this is a woman who, I mean, her whole life was pretty much school, a lot of responsibility between school and work and stuff like that, where, I mean, even if she's stressed or whatever, it's just that muscle memory is going to cause her to continue her normal routine. So if her normal routine has her going to work, she's going to go to work and such. So I don't think someone like that wouldn't probably, they wouldn't take a day off unless they were forced to.
Right,
would be my guess.
Good work ethic. I mean, she had a lot going on.
Yeah.
She probably wouldn't even know what to do, like twiddling her thumbs.
Yeah, exactly.
But then she wanted to get away for a week,
Yeah.
And, like, saying there was a death in the family out of nowhere seems really odd.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of weird circumstances building up to it. So I don't really know what to think.
But again, you also got to think too, as well as even with the weird circumstances, that it sounds basically just like stress and a psychotic break, because the circumstances built up in a very short time. Like, stress gets to us all and we hide it and stuff like that. But when things start happening, for a psychotic break, they start ramping up, and they ramp up, and it happens in a very short time period. That's why I kind of think that it's mostly stress, and just eventually she had a break, is because of the fact that it wasn't necessarily drawn, like it was a severe case of stress. It wasn't drawn out over time. It was drawn out over just a couple days, and it just started escalating very, very quickly, and it's just eventually just led to that.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the need to get away is pretty, straightforward. I get that.
Yeah.
It's just my sister thing and everything like that. And where did she go? Like, I personally think she was kidnapped, but it doesn't explain her weird behavior in the first place.
No, yeah, definitely. I definitely think that it was something like, I would have to know, like her communication between her sister and everything, because something was also, it wasn't just stress, because, I mean, again, I don't know exactly what her lifestyle was, but, she's 21, she's young. I don't know if she ever did, like, the whole underage, teenage drinking and stuff like that, right? So that kind of thing wouldn't necessarily be a habit to her.
It could have been.
So the fact that she, would just turn to that automatically. Just, she just break and go and buy a whole bunch of alcohol and stuff like that. That to me says that, I mean, there was something going on inside of her, emotionally or just like mentally. So I don't know if it was a conversation with other, somebody else, or just she was starting to feel the weight of, just all the recent events and everything like that.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say she was going somewhere alone with all that alcohol? She could have been meeting someone. She could have been going over there to meet someone. She didn't book a place. Maybe she found someone she could stay with. Maybe a new guy because the relationship wasn't perfect. Who knows? And then she didn't tell anybody where she was going because they would judge her for it.
Yeah, but something like that, I feel like
That's
there was a lot. Well, not just that, but there was a lot of unnecessary buildup. If that's just what it was.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, still, yeah. I mean, she could have been going to meet someone. Well, no. That wouldn't have worked because there's no phone service. I was gonna say that, I mean, she could have been going to meet somebody, and then when she broke down on the side of the road,
Call for help.
that person. Well, there's no. That's what I was saying, is that person could have came and got her, and they just disappeared. But I mean,
Without a cell phone
there was
service?
no cell phone service. There was no way for him to know what had happened to her.
Right. And we have her phone records, so if she didn't
But
know.
I mean, and again, between the phone, if there was another person, I mean, you would have had a record from somewhere between the phone and her computer and stuff like that. There would have been a record somewhere.
Yeah, she did share a cell phone plan with her boyfriend, so really, if she was cheating, he could have found out through the records. But there was no, weird numbers. They did call the numbers she'd called recently, which was some rental places and her regular friends. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that's the case of Maura Murray. I don't really... I don't know. Where is she? What's your thing? I think she got kidnapped. Weird build up for sure, but maybe she knew something was going to happen to her. I think she got murdered.
Well, if she did get murdered, then someone did a heck of a job, because, I mean...
People get murdered all the time and no one finds them.
Yeah.
That's why true crime exists, is people, wondering what happened. What do you think? Do you think she got kidnapped? Do you think she ran away? Do you think she killed herself? What do you think?
I don't know. It could have... I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been a combination of a kidnapping or something else. Again, I mean, nothing really gives me a sense of that she felt like she was in danger of being kidnapped and just started running away, and then just at the last minute that she was kidnapped. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well...
I mean, it could be she just started walking, the snow covered her tracks, and then she might have eventually just just succumbed to the weather and just the snow, just everything. But even then, I mean, I would suppose eventually, yeah, you would have found a body.
Yeah, it would eventually would have...
Yeah. Unless there was a river or something nearby.
No, there wasn't anything like that. I mean, it's called Woodsville, so it was just woods and some dead roads. But the roads weren't covered in snow. Obviously, there were cars driving by, but I mean, it was icy enough for her wreck.
Plenty of wild animals.
Yeah, do you think they scavenged her body? Because you would have found something. There would have been some scrap of it.
It depends on what kind of animals they have up there.
Yeah. I think you would have found something after all this time. They're not going to get every single bone.
Yeah, but then again, they did also take 11 days to bring in the dogs.
Right. Well, I mean, they initially thought she just abandoned the car.
No offense to the cops.
Or offense. Depends. Did you do your job or not? Gotta question it. But anyways, yeah, that's all I have for you today. Anything you want to end us on?
We gotta find her.
Find her. I'm telling you, it's weird. This is a weird one. This is why I want to do this one first. It's so weird.
It is.
Are you excited about the second one? Because I have a good one for that too. It was on Unsolved Mysteries. You make fun of me when I watch it.
No, I enjoy watching you do the little shimmy to the beginning beat.
He makes fun of me because I do a little dance when the theme song comes on. Because the theme song is everything. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
Yes, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we will keep coming up with some amazing stories and amazing random facts for you.
Okay, bye.